familiar faces here. These are the people that continue to be engaged in our community, elevating our voices. So happy to be here. So when the assembly member and I found out this was happening on the state level, because we've been getting brief after brief, we've asked everybody to keep us engaged or keep us briefing us, because we want to make sure when you have questions for us, we don't say, well, let me get back to you, I don't know. We wanted to have the answers for you. We quickly reached out to our city counterparts, City 6 and City 7, because we work together. And we said, this is happening, what can we do together? And I'm happy to lock arms with my fellow colleagues here to bring information to you, because everything that's happening here, it's in collaboration with city, federal, county, and state agencies. And it can be very confusing. So we brought them all here for you so that you don't have to call every single different agency, email every single different agency. You're gonna hear a one united voice from everyone and bring resources to you, and hopefully maybe not all be satisfying answers to you. Let's be honest here. Some of you may not agree with what some of the answers are saying, but we're just going to share that with you. I represent from Burbank all the way to Canoga Park. These landfills are in my district. Sunshine Canyon is in my district. Vulcan's in my district, and we just want to make sure that you walk away informed. All right, Councilmember, you ready for this? Okay.
So once again, good evening everyone, and thank you for being here tonight. I want to also thank our partners, as mentioned, Polytechnic High School, Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council, Pacoima Beautiful, and I need to give a big thank you to my team for helping put together all these logistics. Can my team all start waving their hands? You see them with the jackets? So first and foremost, I want to acknowledge that this was a terrible disaster that brought us together. The destruction caused by the Palisades and Eden fires has been devastating, and the results we are now facing is one of the most complex recovery efforts in U.S. history. It's a massive undertaking involving multiple agencies, companies, facilities, and each one is playing a different role in helping the community rebuild. Tonight's meeting, though, I want to emphasize is specifically on Sun Valley, where facilities in our area are being used as part of the Phase 2 debris removal operations. We know that there is a lot of concern about what this means for our communities, how materials are being handled, what the impacts will be, and how we can make sure this work is done safely. Sun Valley has for a long time been a hub for industrial waste management operations, and we recognize the deep history of environmental justice challenges that our community has faced. It's why it's important that any work happening here is done 3 key words: transparently, with the community informed, and 3, engaged. We have heard concerns about potential landfill involvement in these operations. At this time, and we hope that you clarify if we're wrong, our understanding is that Sun Valley landfills are not directly involved in the current debris removal, and that non-hazardous waste will be brought to Sun Valley. But if there's something different and something else that we would know, we hope that you can let us know today. It's important to understand that this is just one piece of a much larger operation. There are many facilities and stakeholders, as we mentioned. And while Sun Valley has a role, it is part of the entire complexity. But today we do hope that you can focus on our region. Because of that complexity is why we thought it was important to work with individuals at the city, state, and federal government, as well as with the private operators. I know that there's other private operators in the crowd, so I highly recommend for those of you who represent other facilities that you also take this time to mingle and to tell folks what's going on. So to the crowd, we mentioned to a lot of you guys to please fill out your cards. But we also recognize that maybe some people don't want to fill cards or don't feel comfortable. So we're going to try to go with card, microphone, okay? I encourage you to ask questions, seek to get the answers, and we all want to make sure that, we are informed throughout the way. So we encourage you speaking up, share your concerns as we proceed moving forward with what's going on in Sun Valley. So thank you again. Now the next step is I would like for each agency to please introduce yourselves. Introduce yourself with your name and your agency and the level of government that agency pertains to, and the specific role that your agency will take in the post-fire recovery process. Please proceed. Now we can start with CalRecycle.
On. Good evening. My name is Chris McSwain. I'm with CalRecycle. We are a department of Cal EPA. That's a state agency that is responsible for most, but not all, solid waste. But before I go on, I just want to give you a little bit of why it's important that I'm glad I'm here. I've been part of the debris removal program here in California for a while. I have worked in supporting so many communities that have gone through this. That includes helping clear 11,000 homes in Paradise back in 2018 and 2019 from the campfire. It is a privilege to be here. Thank you very much for inviting us. This is important. Conversations with community, engagement with community. I understand what that confusion is. I have talked to so many people in communities like yours over the years. There's uncertainty, there's real concern over the health of your families and your community, and that is appreciated. I hope through this process tonight we're able to allay and answer questions that make you feel more comfortable. So thank you for allowing me to say that. So what CalRecycle does in this operation, we are not running this operation like we did in the campfire or so many other fires. Our partners at the federal level are taking the lead and doing an excellent job. What we do is for solid waste facilities, including landfills, including recycling, CalRecycle provides assistance to the local enforcement agency. The local enforcement agency is, in this case, part of your community. They're people that understand the special needs of the community, they understand the dynamics, and they are accountable here in your community. And so we have our partner from the LEA here. You'll hear the letters LEA, but what we do is we support what they do. I can give, probably after everybody introduces themselves, an idea of how we work on these specific facilities.
Yeah, we're gonna ask specific questions. Right now, just what you did general is very good. So next. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Fukutomi. I'm with the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. We're part of Governor Newsom's office, representing the state of California. CalOES is the lead state agency for emergency management, disaster response, and disaster recovery. So we coordinate and collaborate with virtually every agency and part of state government. And we are also the lead state agency for coordinating with our federal partners. The federal government is here, FEMA specifically at the request of Governor Newsom to provide supplemental and additional federal assistance. And one of the big pieces of that is why we're here today, is debris removal. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, about the phases of debris removal. But we collectively here play a role in what we call the 2 phases of disaster debris removal, which is oftentimes the first major milestone of recovery for everybody. There's phase 1, which is the removal of household hazardous waste. That's the materials and the containers that are under your sinks and in your garage that you keep away from food and everything that need to be safely removed. Phase 2, Colonel Swenson will talk about that, is the physical removal of the remains of the residential structure. I won't talk about all the details, but Colonel Swenson is here as the expert. We'll talk about that. But that's an important step in allowing property owners to recover and begin rebuilding. Governor Newsom is committed to making sure that this is done transparently, and that we follow safety and environmental laws. He has waived a number of things that may have been impediments in the disaster recovery, and continues to look for opportunities to facilitate disaster recovery, because the quicker we get through this, the better off it is for everybody. This is, as the Councilmember Padilla said, one of the largest disasters in our nation's history, and it had a regional impact. And so, as the Senator mentioned and the Council Member mentioned, you may not like all the answers we have, but we're going to give you the best answers we have and the truth. And we're committed to do this in the most expeditious and safe manner as possible. So thank you for being here, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you. And for reference, you are both state agencies.
Correct.
Good evening. My name is Colonel Eric Swenson. I'm the commander of the Recovery Field Office for the Army Corps of Engineers for the Southern California Wildfire Mission. As was already stated, my role here is primarily Phase 2 debris removal. And ultimately what I'm here to do is to remove the visible signs of the fire from individual survivors' homes, about 13,500 of them, across both the Eaton and Palisades fire impacted areas, to do so safely and as quickly as we can to enable these communities, these survivors, to rebuild their lives and their livelihoods on their property. And I look forward to taking your questions about how the process works, or any specific question you might have about the debris removal process and how it might come to Sun Valley. Thank you.
And you are a federal agency, correct?
Yes, the Army Corps of Engineers is a federal agency.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack Bonnickson. I'm the Director of Communications at Vulcan Materials Company, and it's great to be with you tonight. Vulcan Materials Company is the nation's largest producer of construction aggregate materials, so that's stone, sand, and gravel. That material is what goes into roads, bridges, hospitals, schools, places of worship, basically everything that you see around you within the community. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you, and this is my colleague here, Rosemary Luna.
Good evening. My name is Rosemary Luna. I am with Vulcan Materials Company, and I am the Area Operations Manager that oversees the Sun Valley Area, Reliance, Azusa, Durban facilities, and that includes 3 aggregate sites, 2 landfills, and 3 recycle yards through our North American Recycling subsidiary. So our specific role in the debris removal is to accept clean, crushed concrete at our Sun Valley facility. So we have specialized capability to receive clean concrete from Palisades and recycle it for future use. Our Sun Valley landfill only accepts inert materials, and that includes fill soil, concrete, ceramic, rock, gravel, stone, clay, brick, and asphalt. So in coordination with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we began receiving material on Monday. The concrete that is received has been tested prior to being imported to Sun Valley. And that was to ensure that it is non-hazardous. Our Sun Valley landfill will not be accepting or disposing of any fire debris containing hazardous material. Our expectation is to receive up to 3,000 tons per day of recyclable, clean, crushed concrete from the Palisades for stockpiling and for resale. Our Sun Valley facility has received clean concrete rubble for decades, which is what we use to process for future sales. We crush and process and make base. So the clean crushed concrete that will be received from Palisades will be comparable to the recycled base that we have been processing for years.
And much like tonight's meeting, it's really important to us that each and every one of you stays informed about who we are and what we are doing and what our role is in this process. And so we have established an email and a phone number to where you can reach out to us with questions. That email is wed-commrel@vmcmail.com. Don't worry, you guys don't have to write it down that quickly. We have fact sheets right here. I'm happy to give those to anyone after this meeting. For us, it's crucial that we do things the right way. To us, that is the Vulcan way of how we operate, how we always seek to do business. That involves meeting our environmental obligations, ensuring that we're in compliance with local, state, and federal regulations. But we also want to make sure that we are an employer of choice. And over time, we've created thousands of good-paying direct and indirect jobs throughout Los Angeles County. So look forward to continuing the discussion this evening. Very much appreciate y'all being here. And again, with those fact sheets, happy to discuss after the event and pass these out for y'all to use, and appreciate the opportunity to continue the discussion.
Good evening. My name is John Gasparo with Security Paving Company. We operate the recycle site on Bradley Avenue. It's called it's called Security Paving Recycle Site. We have recycle sites in Goleta. We have recycle site in Riverside, and we just recently closed the recycle site in downtown Los Angeles. We only accept clean concrete and clean asphalt at our recycle sites. We are also a major bridge and highway constructor throughout the state of California, and at any given time we employ 500 to 800 union employees. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Halou. I'm the Assistant Director for the City of Los Angeles Bureau of Sanitation. We are a city agency. We provide trash, recycling, green waste for all 750,000 residential customers in the city of Los Angeles. We also operate a safe center here in Sun Valley that accept hazardous material, household hazardous waste on the weekends. That's only open to our residents, not to businesses. Our role so far in the fire has been limited because the Army is the lead. Our support has been for properties that were not damaged by the fire, but they have smoke damage like furniture, they have mattresses, so we pick those as a bulky item, just like we do. A lot of this material is recycled. If residents have, in the Pacific Palisade particular, have any left household hazardous waste, we direct them to safe centers we have. One is at UCLA, and we have another one at Hyperion Treatment Plant. And that's the role so far for us. I'll turn it over to Elliot.
Good evening. My name is David Thompson, and I am the program manager for the City of Los Angeles Local Enforcement Agency. As is explained earlier, we are the local agents for CalRecycle. And basically, our job is to permit, inspect, and enforce solid waste regulations at landfills, transfer stations, construction and demolition processing sites, green waste sites. So any of those types of facilities are under our jurisdiction. In the case of Sun Valley Landfill, they have a permit with us as an inert debris engineered fill operation. And this allows them to take up to 6,000 tons per day of clean, inert debris. No solid waste, no hazardous waste, no ash. So what we're talking about is clean concrete, clean asphalt, dirt, brick. From what my understanding is, the site is only taking clean concrete that has been double or triple washed. To do our job, we also have several different other regulatory agencies that we team up with. It's not just us alone. We team up with AQMD, the Air Quality Management District, Department of Public Health. They're a big player that works with us. So I don't see us just doing this alone, but we have a whole team trying to protect this neighborhood. And I think as we go along later, we're going to find out more about that. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Victor Yip. I'm the Assistant Deputy Executive Officer for the Compliance and Enforcement Division at South Coast AQMD. And we are the local regulatory agency for air quality. So our agency, we're not a city entity, we're considered a special district, and we have jurisdiction over the 4 counties, all 4 counties in the South Coast region. And our agency is responsible for developing rules that control air quality, air emissions, and we have rules that pertain to things like asbestos, dust, and you'll hear more about those types of rules and how our enforcement program regulates those requirements. And so our role in the fire debris cleanup is we are integrated in the multi-agency effort. We are working with the agencies that are here, among others, and we are offering, providing technical advice for how to conduct the cleanup in the safest manner. Right? We have work practices that are aimed to be done safely so that the residents in the area are not exposed to any kind of air emissions. And in addition to that, we have inspectors. A lot of you have called complaints and had talked to one of our inspectors about some kind of air quality issue that you've been experiencing. And so we have inspectors that are deployed in the field to conduct inspections, to evaluate these types of work practices during the cleanup activity, just to ensure that the best practices are being followed so that we can remain the most protective. Beyond that, I want to introduce my colleague, Lisa Tanaka.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us here. My name is Lisa Tanaka, and I'm Victor's counterpart. I'm the Deputy for Community Relations, and my role here today is I'm going to explain how to file an air quality complaint. So if you see something or you smell something, we want you to call us or contact us with that complaint so that Victor's team can go out and investigate. So looking forward to providing that information, and I'll be here after the meeting, and I have my colleague Stefano Padilla somewhere here, and there he is. We definitely want to work with you and provide our information. So thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. And I realized that I forgot after Army Corps to specify government levels. So we have 3 from Vulcan, 2 from Vulcan, 1 from Security Paving, private entities, and then 2 from the City of LA, right? Sanitation, and LEA is also City of LA, and AQMD is also a state agency.
We're a special district. So
district.
We oversee the 4 counties.
4 counties. Okay, it's important. Okay, thank you all for sharing. So before we go into the cards from the public, we have put together some questions on behalf of the council office and our state leaders. So I'm going to read those first before we go into the crowd. So this one is for the local enforcement agency, LA SAN, as well as South Coast AQMD. Can you please explain how your environmental regulations will be enforced and monitored, and how will they be enforced and monitored to make sure that we don't get contamination?
So for the local enforcement agency, we are required to go out to the Vulcan site once a quarter to inspect. Our agency actually goes out once a month to the site just to verify how they're operating. Do they have water trucks on site to keep the dust down? Do they have traffic spotters so when the trucks are operating on site, are they doing it in a way that the people are going to be protected, both the users and the employees? We look at the records on a monthly basis just to make sure that they are not exceeding their tonnage limits. We also review the material coming into the site just to make sure that it is that inert material. Like we were talking about earlier, they are not allowed to take solid waste. They're not allowed to take hazardous waste. That's what my inspectors do. They go out, they've been trained to identify this material and to prevent it from coming to this site. In regards to security paving, the way the regulations are written, those are outside of the jurisdiction of the local enforcement agency. So I do not know a lot about their operations, but I know with Vulcan, they have a history with us. I've been overseeing their site for 33 years now. And I can't remember the last time they've had a violation from us. So they have been doing a good job of operating. If we do see dust problems or anything like that, we have close relationships with AQMD, their inspectors. We talk on a normal basis. So it's not like we have different agencies that are not talking. We work with Sanitation. Me and Alex, we're on the phone all the time now. But our main job is to keep this community safe. And that's what we try to do.
And for South Coast AQMD, so we do have rules that we developed that addresses emissions from these types of facilities. And Vulcan, they don't require to have a permit with us. We have an engineering department that issues permits for certain types of pieces of equipment. Vulcan operates in a way where they don't have equipment that would require a permit, but we do have rules that apply to them. We have rules that prevent dust, like dust emissions, fugitive dust. We have rules that address asbestos, and the requirements of those rules are enforced by our inspectors through on-site inspections, and we evaluate the operation to make sure that these operations are adhering to those requirements. So during the cleanup, our regulations are in effect, and we do have our rules that we will be enforcing if we observe any kind of violation from these types of operations. And so, in addition to our inspectors going on site to conduct inspections, we also respond to complaints. And so if any community member observes that there's activities at any of these sites that, you think, creates some kind of odor or creates any kind of dust, feel free to call us and we'll have our inspector dispatched to that area, contact you, give you a call to get more information, and then we'll go on site, we'll take a look, and we'll see if there are any violations that occurred. If we do notice a violation, then our inspectors will issue enforcement action. If it's a emissions type of violation, we will issue a notice of violation, which is it's a ticket that carries a penalty. It carries some kind of penalty for the company that violated our rule. If there's an administrative type of issue that we see, we can issue a notice to comply, which is kind of like equivalent to like a fix-it ticket. If giving the operator a chance to fix the issue, whether it's keeping records or applying for a registration or something like that. And so those are the types of tools that we have to be able to enforce our rules, especially during these cleanup activities for facilities that we regulate. Again, Vulcan landfill does not require permits with us, but we do conduct inspections. Our inspectors were on site earlier this week. We did observe some of these activities on bringing in the concrete, and we didn't observe any violations at that time. So that's to say, we didn't observe any fugitive dust, leaving the site. We didn't see any dust plumes come up that could possibly expose the neighbors. We noticed that they were using water to wet down the material before they put it into the landfill. And so, throughout this whole process, our inspectors will continue to conduct these inspections, continue to respond to any complaints that we receive from this community, and we'll just be there to make sure that these operations are adhering to our rules and regulations.
How can a constituent report a complaint?
I'm sorry?
How can someone make a complaint?
Oh, okay. So for South Coast AQMD, we have flyers that we can pass out over there. But there are 3 ways that the community can call complaints. We have a complaint hotline. It's by telephone. You can call in. It's 1-800-CUT-SMOG. So that's 1-800-288-7664. And during business hours, Tuesday to Friday, you'll talk to a live attendant. Someone will pick up the phone. They'll get the information. They'll log it in. And that will go into our system where our inspector can be dispatched. During after hours, if something's happening overnight, I do have standby staff that monitor our lines. You can leave a voice message. Our staff will receive that message overnight, and then we can deploy an inspector during off hours. You can also file a complaint through our website. So aqmd.gov, www.aqmd.gov, there's a complaint portal. You can enter the information there. And then just recently, we added a feature on our mobile app. So we have a QR code where you can download our app, and then you can file your complaint right there through your phone. We allow pictures, videos to be uploaded, which gives our inspectors a lot more information on what's going on. And our inspectors respond to every complaint. And so we do our best to respond the very next day. Usually it's that same day, but if it's later that afternoon, you'll get a phone call from us the following day. And so that would be the best way to let us know if you see a problem out there, and you smell something, you observe any kind of dust or any issues like that.
Community, sorry, Councilmember, I would ask, what helps us is that you might think, well, why am I reporting? No one's doing anything. When we then want to change a policy, they will tell us no one's reporting anything. You're bringing up an issue, and I'm looking at my records, and no one in your district is reporting or complaining about something. My ask to you would be, don't think that we're not checking these complaints. It helps us when we want to push and change policies to have the backing of your voice. So I would ask, if you do see something, please file a complaint, because we need that supporting data.
Yeah, and I was actually going to mention, don't you also have an app? You did, right? You mentioned the app. I highly recommend everybody download the app. A lot of folks are familiar with the MyLA 311 app on behalf of the city. Now you know that there is also an app on behalf of AQMD. You smell something, you see the dust, please report it. The senator is right. We run into a lot of situations where my office is also called AQMD to try to do something or partner with the county, and no one is reporting. So moving forward with these things coming into the district, we highly recommend you keep that app and you utilize it. Okay? So next question that we have here, this is for security paving, Vulcan, and ECC, whoever else wants to contribute. We're interested in knowing what methods recyclers and haulers have in place to safeguard our community to tap down dust.
So at our Sun Valley landfill facility, what we do for dust control is we have a water truck that waters our haul roads and dump areas, and that's watered every hour. We also use that same water truck to wet down the material in the stockpile, so that further adds dust suppression.
Has anyone driven by Tahunga in San Fernando? Is that not the Sahara Desert? Do we think we could do better? Vulcan, I would say, if you haven't driven by there, go drive there. Tahunga and San Fernando Road is always, it's like snow day with sand and dust there. I would ask that we recognize, I've seen the trucks, the water trucks, that if we can increase the times that they go out with the schedule and pay attention to the more traveled major streets, that would be my ask there.
Sure, thank you.
So thank you. This next question is for the Army Corps or anybody else. Well, wait, we had asked security paving as well and ECC.
Our dust suppression system at our recycle site is very similar to what Vulcan just said. We have a water truck. We inspect each load. We spray the loads at the time prior to dumping, and we also have a water system on the stockpile. We don't have anything below ground. It's all above. So we have it a water suspension system on the stockpile. So, and we also have a street sweeper, which is out on Bradley Avenue.
I'm Bradley. And for the record, can you explain to the crowd where you're located? I think you mentioned earlier there was some kind of confusion.
There's a little confusion. We are not Bradley landfill. We are Security Paving Recycle Site, which is on Bradley Avenue. At one time it was called Bradley Recycle Site, but it's an above-ground facility. All we are allowed to collect is clean asphalt and clean concrete. And from the fire Eaton and Palisades, we have been accepting clean concrete, which there is a environmental person from Tetra Tech on the site monitoring each load that comes in, and a representative from Army Corps also watching the loads. So we're not Bradley landfill. I know there's been confusion in the community with that, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back to Army Corps. You're one of the agencies that is one of the most difficult to contact, right? So we would appreciate a little bit of some information related to what are the public health and environmental regulations in place that are going to safeguard our communities in this space to clean up of the clean concrete as it's processed here and recycled. And we would also like it if you can explain your operation of testing the debris, because my understanding is you're testing it at the Palisades and then bringing it. So if you can elaborate on how that works and making sure that it's safe by the time it gets into the vehicle and then into the recyclers. What is in place to protect both Sun Valley residents as well as the workers?
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember. So the Army Corps of Engineers, as I stated before, was here to do phase 2 debris removal. So there's about 5 debris streams that come off of every fire damaged parcel. One of them is green waste. So these are trees that have to be cut, hazardous trees that are cut. So there's green waste. There's clean metals. They think about like if you have a flower pot outside made out of an old barrel and it has those metal bands around it. When the fire burns the wood, the bands fall to the ground. That's metal. So we clean that metal. That gets consolidated, gets banded, and then gets sent to a recycling center so that can re-enter the supply chain and come out as a new product someplace else. We also take fire ash and debris. So that's think of the structure that burned and all the contents in the house. That's fire ash and debris. That includes 6 inches of topsoil around what we call the ash footprint. So that's where the structure would settle to the ground. We take 6 inches of soil so we can make sure we get any of that fire ash and debris that landed on the ground with it. That goes in a lined, we collect it using the wet method. So we spray it all down ahead of time, and as while we're scraping it, we're also spraying it down with water. It goes into a lined dump truck. And that lined dump truck is sealed. The liner is closed. It has a tarp on top of it. And then that is transported as rapidly and safely as possible from local roads to county roads to state roads to federal roads, interstates, to a permitted landfill that is going to receive that material. That's a lined landfill. That is not what we're talking about here tonight. The next thing we take is concrete, right? So there's 2 types of concrete. We test every foundation for asbestos before we remove it. If we find that there's asbestos-containing material, sometimes we hear it referred to as ACM, asbestos-containing material, we take that asbestos-containing material with a certified abatement company. They go in, and that's the first thing we remove. That gets removed, gets bagged, and it gets taken to a special landfill designated to take that material. For the foundations that don't have asbestos-containing material, we then remove that foundation as part of the debris removal process. That gets taken either direct haul to one of the centers we're talking about here, or we crush it first into fine aggregate, 1-inch aggregate, which is essentially a building material, and then we bring it to a place like Vulcan or what was formerly known as Bradley Recycling, Security Paving's above ground site, and then those companies can then resell that as a building material, And that's what goes under if you have an airfield expansion, if you're building a new highway, if you're building something for the 2028 Olympics, right? And it needs a sub-base material. That's what will be used and compacted, and then the structure will be built on top of that. So this is one of the greatest things of all times, right? Is the ability to take concrete and give it a second life and not put it in a landfill where it takes up space, right? So it can have a second life on the road. It is cleaned, it is inspected, tested for asbestos before it goes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that's happening at the Palisades or before it reaches Sun Valley?
So all the testing happens on site. So we've tested thousands of parcels as we speak.
And that could be Palisades or Eaton?
It can be Palisades or Eaton. So it's tested. If it tests positive, it gets remediated. If it tests negative, then we remove it as part of the debris removal process. And then we bring it to a recycling center that is
driven
equipped.
Here?
It is driven here, yep,
Okay.
in a tarped truck. It is driven here and is dropped off, is what we call tipped, or depending on the type of vehicle that it comes in, it is deposited, and then the organization that we deliver it to, as explained earlier, they take it from there, and they continue to keep it wet, keep the dust down. When we are doing our removal of debris, we also monitor air quality. So some of our employees, when they're inside, we call the ash footprint. They have an individual air monitor. We also have perimeter air monitors, and we have sensitive site air monitors. And we use those air monitors to ensure that our methods for removing debris are safe for our employees, and by extension, they're safe for the public. So that is what we call private property debris removal in a nutshell. But the things we're talking about that's coming to Sun Valley is clean concrete that'll be recycled and will re-enter the supply chain for use in a future building project in this community.
So, Colonel, it's a safe product. That's why we're reselling it, right? To be
Yes.
used again.
You are reselling. It is being resold to be used again, and not go into a landfill, which is really critical. That it's not going into a landfill that is designed for municipal waste that we can't have a second home for, but we can have a second home for this clean recycled concrete.
And I just want to add a follow-up question. Because this is being done under an emergency, is it appropriate for us to track the roads that you're using as part of something that we would like repave as a mitigation, given that our community is going to get an overuse of trucks into the district?
So these type operations happen on roads around our country every single day.
But this is an emergency.
It's an emergency, but this happens every single day. If there's an interstate that's getting redone, they'll do the same thing with asphalt. They'll scrape the top layer of asphalt off, and it will get recycled and hauled on those very same roads. And so it's going to happen. You know, there's going to be more trucks than normal, but there are trucks on our roads and cars on our roads using them every single day for the stated purpose of the road. And that's why it is our mission to get from the local road to the county road to the state road to the federal highway as quickly as we safely can, because it is those larger roads that are designed to hold these trucks. That's what these roads, interstates, are designed to transit, is larger vehicles, and to do it safely. And we are absolutely committed to safety. All of our trucks are GPS tracked, so we can track the location of every truck, the speed that truck is going. Every truck is inspected. There's a DOT inspection of every truck, and then we do random inspections of our trucks throughout the period they're working for us to ensure that they are safe to be on the highway. And these trucks are all local trucks. So you'll recognize, some of you'll recognize the names on many of these trucks. They are locally hired trucks. And this is also providing an economic benefit to them and their families while they're doing this critically important work for the communities that were impacted by these devastating wildfires that started on January 7th, 2025.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move over to CalOES before we go to the crowd questions. You permit a lot of the private sector agencies that are going to be receiving this, if correct. So what we wanted to know is, how are you engaging in terms of how you are coordinating and approving and working with the other agencies on the phase 1 and the difference between phase 1 and phase 2 of the removal and where it's going?
Thank you, Councilwoman. So let me be clear, and some of my colleagues might want to jump in. So CalOES isn't a permitting or regulatory
Yeah, you're out of
agency.
the governor's office.
Correct.
So you okay, that makes sense.
But we work with the agencies at the state level that do have a permitting or regulatory role, and we ensure that they're brought to the table as part of the federal, state, local coalition. If there's a gap or a discrepancy, we'll come in and bring them together, convene a meeting to do that, and this happens almost on a daily basis to make sure that there are no roadblocks. But we also ensure that all the right agencies are there at the state level to monitor, to do their regulatory and their permitting process.
Yes, my apologies. I was referring to CalRecycle.
Yes.
That's right. CalRecycle does the permitting. So can we hear from both of you, like just how that's all playing a role together?
Well, so CalRecycle is happy to be part of this team. We have a regulatory role on municipal solid waste facilities, which is not what we're talking about here.
Correct. Vulcan can't do what they do without your permit, correct?
Yeah, and
Correct.
that role is played out in the community with the local enforcement agency. When it comes to these other types of recycling facilities, operational and permit requirements vary depending on the specifics, and that is taken care of by the LEA. CalRecycle works as a support to the LEA, and that can mean technical support and guidance. It could be regulatory support and guidance. We have at times provided subject matter experts, engineers and environmental scientists to assist if there's a cause to do it, but it's primarily from the regulatory. The boots on the ground is the LEA. And of course, all of these facilities, as we've talked about, there are, whether it's air, water, solid waste, land use, there are specialists in each one of these areas, many of whom are represented here, that play a role. Ours is very specific in terms of primarily municipal solid waste facilities, which is not something we're not really focusing on today.
Okay, so I have one question here, but I think instead of posing it as a question, I'm gonna just make it a promise to the crowd. We would like for each one of you to give our teams where constituents can report any complaints. And then since we hope everyone signed up into the sign-in sheet, and then we can forward you that information. So we won't have everybody go through it if you haven't already. We do want to know what you're going to do to limit noise, dust, and traffic impacts for the businesses in Sun Valley. That's a question for Vulcan.
So I think I already covered the dust, the use of the water truck for the dust suppression. In addition to that, we do have daily sweeping that happens. We sweep daily Glen Oaks, Sheldon, and Peoria, and that's multiple times per day. And then Wicks and Allegheny gets swept on Tuesdays and Fridays. And per our permit, we're required to sweep 2 times a day. So we are going above and beyond what is required.
Is that your emergency permit or regular?
That's our current permit.
Current, okay. So you don't have any extra asks now that you're taking in more given the emergency?
It's part of what we do every day.
Okay,
We're sweeping multiple times a day, applying dust. It's just part of our normal operation.
Got it.
May I rephrase that? Because we're taking in extra loads, more trucks are coming in, will Vulcan increase those measures?
We absolutely can.
We probably should. I think you should. I think that's the general consensus, please. Okay. Anything else?
No, I think I covered the
question. Okay. I think we're ready for
Yeah, thank you,
questions.
Councilwoman.
I think they
Okay.
overlap with ours.
I want to say I went through the questions and compiled very similar common questions. So I wrote them down. It's not that I put away your card. I just pulled out the very common questions. And to set the stage here, you're looking at a community in Sun Valley that is been just compounded with a lot of environmental injustices in this community. 11 aggregate facilities. We have, I call them my high rises. The high rises of debris that you can see from miles away on the 5 freeway in this area. So you can see the sensitivity of this community. Is like, why us? Why do we continue to be at the backbone of where everything needs to be done? So just setting the stage that most of the questions we got from our constituents are environmental justice related questions. And I know some of you have already answered, like Vulcan, you addressed how you're going to mitigate air pollution. You're going to look to increase those measures, the watering the streets, doing more of that, and then the dust in the air. A lot of people are wondering how, what are the negative impacts for people breathing this in? Is this going to be an increased exposure to negative, what people are calling hazard materials? Colonel, I know you already spoke and saying none of this is hazard, but are there any negative impacts to breathing this in?
So I will say that we do everything we can to keep the dust down. It starts at each parcel using the wet method, an abundance of water to keep all the dust down. We clean the concrete. The concrete gets put into a truck and tarped and gets sent, as I mentioned earlier, on roads. We go from local to county to state to federal.
You got that, Colonel, yes.
Yeah, it's important. It's important that I say this because, California is a wildfire-prone state. We've been doing this for over a decade. We work very, very closely with the state agencies, with the county agencies, with local agencies, and most importantly, with the communities that are impacted by wildfires. Those directly impacted by wildfires, and those like Sun Valley that are indirectly affected by wildfires. But we don't want this to be a negative experience for you. So we want to make sure that the material that we deliver here, this is clean, crushed concrete. It has an economic value, and it's important that we keep it out of landfills so we can preserve that landfill space for municipal waste for generations to come. And so we work very closely with our partners who accept this material and then resell it to the community. And as you heard my colleagues say over here, where we tip the trucks, they pick up with watering and do their processes, but they're the same or very similar processes that we do to protect the community and everyone's air quality. And if you have a concern with a truck or an operation that's tied to the Corps of Engineers, you can contact my debris hotline. It is manned by 3 wonderful people who are here in LA at 213-308-8305. I'll say that one more time. 213-308-8305. If you can get a picture, a license plate number, let us know if you see something that is not what I briefed tonight. We want to know. We have GPS trackers on our vehicles. We monitor them constantly, and we want to ensure that that our audio, what I'm saying, equals our visual, what you are seeing. So we want our audio to equal the visual, and for you to have confidence that our processes are safe, that this will benefit. I acknowledge it's going to be extra trucks on your roads, but that there will be an economic benefit to this, and that we're doing this safely for the benefit of all of California, especially as this particular step helps keep the landfills for municipal waste and the clean recyclables as a building material. Thank you.
I think, sir, these follow-ups are probably going to be for you too as well, sir, if you want to stay up there.
And we will get that number
to teach
everyone.
calculus so I can stand up in front of an audience all day long.
And sir, some of this might be repetitive, but I think it's beneficial that they hear their questions. Any materials contain volatile compounds?
No, it's just cleaned, crushed concrete.
Are there
Clean
any
concrete.
levels of toxicity that is accepted for it to be transferred over?
We test for asbestos, a multi-point test for asbestos. If we find the asbestos, we have found asbestos. We have a separate crew who is trained to remove and certified to remove asbestos, remove that. That goes to a completely separate landfill.
So there's not even a level that you accept before transfer?
No, we test it for asbestos. If we find no asbestos, it is clean concrete, then we then take it off and we ship it to our partners who then use it as a commodity and put it back into the supply chain.
Okay.
Just to counsel, a lot of the attention in this town hall has been on Vulcan, and I appreciate Security Paving being here. How would members of the public be able to find your full list of vendors that are going to be taking this debris so that we know about others in Sun Valley or others in the East Valley?
Yeah, so we have a list of about 24 different landfills that are permitted, either by LA County or by a county in conjunction.
Where can we find that list?
I can
Because we
share.
haven't been able to find it. Have you been able to find it?
I can share the list with you, Councilwoman. We have a list of them. It depends on. Ideally, this is a giant optimization problem, right? The state asked the federal government for a direct federal assistance. They did a request for direct federal assistance because of the public health and safety threat that these fires pose, not just to LA County, not just to Malibu, not just to Altadena, but to the state of California and to the ecosystem that is critical to this community. And so what is of critical importance is that we get fire ash and debris from 13,500 uncontrolled locations, right? Those are being parcels that were impacted by this fire, collected safely using the wet method as I described, into trucks safely, transported safely across the highways into appropriate debris streams where they can either be recycled or permanently disposed of in lined landfills. And so that is what we're here for. And so it is my mission not to do any more harm to communities that have been traumatized by these wildfires of January 7th. And I am committed to doing it safely. And if you call the hotline and report a complaint, we will investigate it. I've had several people call the hotline and report, trucks. Oftentimes they're not our trucks. There's an awful lot of trucks that operate on our roads every single day, but I run every one down to make sure. And if it is my truck, then we have, I contractually have tools to get my contractors into compliance, which ultimately helps you as a community here in Sun Valley. Did I answer the question?
Well, I was aware, but I'm glad you're going to give it to me. The list.
I will give you the list, absolutely.
Okay,
All right,
Absolutely.
we're gonna
We want to wrap?
respectfully, really quick responses here to get through a lot of questions here. Any battery debris?
No.
Great. Is there soil testing below 6 inches? I don't know if they meant feet. Okay. How will the rains impact or affect the collected materials? Would it make it hazardous?
So the rains, it depends on the rains. So a little bit of rain is good because it acts as a natural dust control. So we have to use less water on each site. If we have a lot of rain, we put sock wattles up. Those are the things you see when we have rainstorms that lots of different agencies put out, and they help filter the water that lands on a parcel and as it gets into the stormwater drain. So that's a protective measure that's used across the state of California. We do that same thing before, during, and after our mission in conjunction with the California Conservation Corps, the California OES, and in this particular case in LA County where these impacted areas are.
You mentioned stormwater drains. Is our groundwater going to be contaminated?
The groundwater will not be contaminated.
How do we know that?
Well, the whole purpose of us taking 6 inches of topsoil and the foundation is to remove the fire, ash, and debris and the public health and safety threat caused by this fire. That's why we take the 6 inches of topsoil around the ash footprint.
The previous question said, do we go below 6 inches?
We do not go below
Okay,
6
yeah.
inches.
But is that being brought into Sun Valley?
That is not being brought into Sun Valley.
That's work happening at the Palisades and Eaton.
The 6 inches of topsoil and the fire, ash, and debris goes to permitted and lined landfills. Sunshine Canyon, Simi Valley, Azusa.
Yes, I think what we're generally interested in knowing is you're going to have a variety of things that are being cleaned up.
Yes.
And given their diversity of items, where are they going? Given their unique specificity. And maybe that's a question for the entire panel. I know we're focused a lot on clean concrete, but we want to know about everything. Because we are also a community, for example, that has a lot of the permits for steel. Are you bringing steel into Sun Valley?
We are not bringing steel or any metal recyclables into Sun Valley. And I'm looking for my cheat sheet here because I haven't memorized it. But I do have a list of all the different places that we have coordinated with to bring things within different communities who are supporting the recovery effort.
And while we're looking for that, one of the common questions is why Sun Valley? Some people said there's 2 hazardous landfills in San Joaquin Valley. Why bring it here? Someone else mentioned Palmdale, Lancaster. Is it because it's a long commute? You're not choosing those locations. Why Sun Valley?
Okay, so we're bringing green waste to Lancaster, Calabasas, Palmdale, Agraman, Evergreen, North Hills, Ornwell wood recycling. We're bringing clean concrete to Oxnard, Long Beach, Irwindale, Palmdale, security paving, as mentioned here, Sun Valley, Vulcan. We're bringing fire, ash, and debris to Sunshine Canyon, Calabasas, Simi Valley, Lancaster, Palmdale, El Sobrante.
Sir Colonel, it seems like everyone's playing a part.
Yeah, so when you have a massive fire that consumes 13,500 structures, parcels, it takes an entire village to remove that fire, ash, and debris as quickly and safely as possible. Because again, the most dangerous thing is to leave 13,000 parcels debris in uncontrolled locations on 13,000 parcels. It is absolutely critical that we move rapidly and safely to remove the fire, ash, and debris, to get it off of those get it away from those uncontrolled locations and into controlled locations, such as line trucks, dump trucks, and get it safely on roads and get it safely into a debris stream so it can either be recycled and re-enter the supply chain, or it can be stored permanently in a lined landfill. That is what's most important for the community. And I know you all know this, I just want to remind you that the air and water know no boundaries. They know no boundaries. So it is of critical importance. We are trying desperately to get all of the debris off of the Pacific Coast Highway, because that is an area that is a sensitive ecological location, and we want to make sure we look out for the health of our oceans. We wanted to get away from any of our river areas, etc.
Where can constituents see that list that you just read off? Is that public information?
I will share it with you.
Okay.
And we will share it.
And you can disseminate it as you see fit.
Okay.
Fair enough. This next question might be for sanitation.
Perfect.
You gotta give him a break, y'all. He did great.
He did. Thank you.
Because we know Sunshine and Vulcan near our area, can any of the material that is being sent to the landfills become hazardous while sitting there?
You know, the material does not change characteristics by just sitting by itself. So if the colonel is sending debris, he's washing it in Pacific Palisades, just along the way, he already had the wet method. By the time it reaches here, it's gonna be still the same characteristics. The composition of the material, the porosity of the soil, the metal, whatever else is in that material stays the same.
Any leakage concerns?
My understanding, the way if it's wetted and coming in, it should be dry by the time it comes to the facility. That's what they're dealing with. Again, we do not oversee it, but from an engineering perspective, that material would not change characteristics. It's not going to pick up hazardous along the way if when it left the site was non-hazardous. Now, for Sunshine Canyon, my understanding from Republic, and that's when we coordinate with Dave and LEA, is that they only accepting material coming from the Army Corps that has been vetted and tested with no hazardous material in it. It has the ash, the soil, it has a 6-inch. They do not send any HHM, which is basically household hazardous material in, like oil and all this other stuff. So I can't speak for Sunshine, but they are not accepting any material that's coming from non-Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, can I just add a little bit more to that? So what we haven't talked about tonight in depth is phase 1 of private property debris removal. And that was coordinated by my colleagues at the Environmental Protection Agency. And so they brought about 1,700 people from the state of California, some of their contractors, the Department of Defense, the Coast Guard, came to help them remove household hazardous materials. Now that sounds like a really dangerous thing, but I guarantee you, if you go home to your house and you look under your kitchen sink, you will have a household hazardous material. You'll have bleach, you'll have oil, you'll have paint, you'll have aerosols, you probably have a propane tank. These are household hazardous materials. And in their current state in your house, they're safe. You live with them. I live with them in my house. The problem is that when they're impacted by a fire, the original container that held that oil, sometimes it gets deformed. Sometimes the oil leaks out of the container, right? But there's no one at that parcel to collect it up. So the EPA went in during phase 1 with specialized teams looking for those household hazardous materials. And they took household hazardous materials which were in an uncontrolled environment because the container that held them, the roof that kept them dry, was no longer there. They collected them, they double bagged them or put them in a special barrel. They then put them on a stake body truck. They brought them to a collection point where they consolidated them into like items. So all yellow paints, all red paints, all propane tanks, etc. They took all those items, they put them on a bigger truck, and they shipped them to specialized either recycling or landfills that were permitted to receive that type of debris. So all of that has been removed from these parcels. Then we test for asbestos. Then we remove any asbestos. What's left is what we call fire ash and debris, and the state of California classifies that as municipal waste. Think about that chair that you dearly loved, but it just got to the end of its life cycle, and you put it out at your curb for the trash men to take. I've done it. And the trash men come and take it, and they take it to a landfill. We're doing the same thing, except that it's been damaged by a fire. So we're collecting it up in a different form, but it's still that chair, right? It's just a different form. We're collecting it up in terms of fire ash and debris, putting it in a lined truck, and we're shipping it to a permitted and lined landfill. That is key. Permitted and lined landfill that is overseen by an LEA, but we're not bringing that to this community. We're only bringing clean concrete to this community, which will stay here long enough until it can be resold and re-enter the supply chain and become a new feature of this community or a neighboring community.
Okay, so before we go on to the next question, I do want to acknowledge that our Assembly member has arrived. Thank you, Assembly member Celeste Rodriguez, for being here. If you want to say a few words, and then we'll continue with the questions. We have a good chunk of time to take a few more questions, but I want to make sure that you have the floor, as we already did.
Oh, it's always on.
No
It's a
pressure.
good note for life. Hi everyone. Like my colleague said, I'm Celeste Rodriguez. I'm the new Assembly member for the Northeast Valley, including representing Sun Valley. My father has also had a business here for the past 20 years, and so this community is very near to my heart. I want to just express how happy I am that this is happening and that you're all here. And I apologize for being late. In Sacramento, we're dealing with a lot of different things, especially things from the federal government. So today I had to address some immigration challenges when it comes to protecting medical care for all of our community. And so I've been driving for about 8 hours, so you might find me standing over there later because my back really hurts. So I'm sorry I'm late, but I've been listening in. Thank you for streaming this live. Shout out to your team. When I had heard that this was going to come to our community, I couldn't help but be infuriated. Our community deserves so much better than to find out secondhand that this is happening. I immediately called my colleagues, Caroline, Imelda, Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, whose team I know is here today, and Congresswoman Luz Rivas' team, who's also here. And I just want you to know that all of us got together immediately to meet with Vulcan, who I want to acknowledge came to the table immediately because we said we deserve a conversation with our community before this happens. We see what has happened in other communities. And honestly, in a community like ours, which I know it was raised by one of your own questions, where we have a disproportionate impact from environmental challenges, we have health impacts because of our air quality, we need more parks. Why do we have more landfills and recycle centers than we do green spaces? And so I want to recognize, though, like the amount of respect that we all know and will always fight for our community to have is the kind of respect that we're being shown today, which I'm grateful for. The fact that all of you are showing up tonight to answer questions directly from the community is exactly what we deserve. And I appreciate that you're willing to take questions. I know it's kind of scary because I know this has been happening in other communities, but you're willing to take questions directly from our community and ensure that our health and safety is on your mind. We're told, look how classy we are. See, don't be scared of us. I mean, don't mess with us, but don't be scared of us. But I want to just thank you all for being here. Even the businesses who were willing to stop taking debris until we had a community meeting, I want to recognize how important that is, and that's being a good partner in our community, and all of you for coming today. I want to also acknowledge Army Corps of Engineers. I had a bit of a challenge yesterday in a committee in Sacramento asking these questions and not getting answers, but you showed up today and you answered questions directly for our community, and that's honestly where the work has to happen. So thank you for being here, and thank all of you for showing up.
I got 2 more questions, and we're going to hand it to the Assembly member to finish off those questions. Are any of Vulcan, are any of the deep pits that you have in the ground markers for collecting drinking water, are they going to be used for that in the future?
No.
How much, maybe Colonel, this is for you, how much PM 2.5 is in these materials? Levels. I have a bill on this, so I know that. Oh yes, sorry. The fine matter from the dust, particulate matter, yes. They're different levels.
I can't answer the specific particulate matter in it. This is clean, crushed concrete, clean concrete that comes here. And it's taken to a place that's essentially able to receive it, to put it back in the supply chain.
So it was our priority as represented leaders to make sure that we had all the agencies in the room, right? And we wanted to ask questions. But we also sometimes need a little bit of help from you as agencies to please answer the question I'm about to ask. What should we be asking you? What are we not asking that you can tell us it's probably beneficial for us to know it now, or else we're going to pull you back in? You all didn't come with a presentation. This was very much a meet and greet. But if you each would have had 10 minutes to do a formal PowerPoint presentation, can you please tell us what we should know now so that we don't find out later? Our team scrambled to put motions to stop your work, pull permits, and then we're back at this room again. Who would like to start?
If there's anything else to share, do you have anything else?
Just really quickly from a Vulcan perspective, I did hear the question like what constitutes.
Can you go closer to the mic, please?
Oh, sure. What constitutes clean would be non-hazardous material. So for us, we're only taking in the clean concrete from the Palisades. And then it was mentioned earlier too.
And how would you define clean? There's been a couple of people that have been asked, what does that mean?
That's non-hazardous. That has been treated offsite and then brought to us. So we're not accepting anything.
So that means asbestos-free?
Lead-free, asbestos-free,
lead-free?
Yes. And
any of these chemicals that are being thrown out, like just
no, it's an inert landfill, so it's inert concrete, so it's a non-hazardous material. And then also was mentioned too about the volume of material being brought in. Our permit caps on a daily basis the entry of 6,000 tons, so we're not going above the permitted levels of material coming into our site. So just by the conversation around truck traffic flow kind of in and out of the site, we are not receiving or accepting or taking in material that's hazardous in any way, shape, or form, and we're not going above any of the permitted levels of tonnage that's allowed to be brought into our site.
We're gonna go to community questions after the assembly member does a couple of these, so we're gonna turn to y'all right now. Council member, can we actually do that?
Yes, let's do that. So let's do. If you want to speak, we have a good 30 minutes to take community questions if you want to start lining up.
We won't have time for all of you.
Yes, we're going to go back and forth.
If we can get 5
Where's
first,
Noel?
If we can get 5 first, if staff can help us get 5 at a time, because we still have a lot of questions to go through.
We'll go one-on-one.
Go.
All right, we're gonna do some rapid fire. If it's already been answered, tell me and we'll move on. The first one is what constitutes
Line up where Noel is. Wait, let's give it a minute. Let's give it a minute.
what constitutes good air quality? Which index should we be using? AQMD?
Yeah, so for air quality monitoring, we do have our air quality monitor network, and the AQI is the best reference to understand if the air quality is good in your neighborhood at a given time. So we have our resources on our website. EPA has that same index, and you can access our website to kind of see.
Can you repeat the website address?
It's www.aqmd.gov.
Okay.
And if you download the mobile app, you can pull up that AQI on your phone, and it'll give you, the index for where you are at that time.
And as we mentioned earlier, that's going to be sent to you with all of your information you've given to us. We'll make sure you have the link to that and how to download the app. How can the community be assured that complaints are adequately addressed after they report them?
So when you report a complaint, and our inspector will give you a call, right? And they'll get some more information, they'll conduct their inspection, and they can give you a call back to let you know their findings. You let the inspector know.
They can or they will? So you have to ask them to?
They usually will. And it would help if you say, hey, give me a call back.
So if you're reporting this, make sure you tell them, I want to hear back.
I want to hear back. And when they're done, they'll give you a call back, they'll report their findings, let you know what they saw.
And I have 3 more. For the total number of trucks coming in, I know there was a question by the council member when I was listening in about additional impact to our roads and trucks. The question is about what total number of trucks are coming in daily to Sun Valley between this and regular operations.
So at our landfill, it varies per day. So we have normal business, right? And this is additional business, but still keeping under the 6,000 ton per day, which our permit requires. So
okay,
we are under that.
And that's how many trucks though? We don't think in tons.
It could be on a daily basis, anywhere from 150 to 200 loads coming in. But I'll tell you this, it's not 200 trucks, it's 200 loads. So it might be 50 trucks round tripping 2 times or 3 times, so it's not 200 trucks.
So on a regular day, you have 50?
No, so what I'm saying is on a regular day, I can tell you about how many 150 to 200 loads.
Okay.
Now, how many truck trips that is, we don't know because we don't know how many trips one truck is doing.
Okay, so
Correct me
maybe
if I'm wrong, we can find that out from Army Corps because they're tracking it all right through GPS. That's what I've understood. Okay, so we can get that information from GPS.
Hold on, really quick.
From
I was talking about the whole business, not just this operation.
That's what I figured.
Right.
So that's what goes into Vulcan based on that question. But it looks like we can get the full answer to the community in conversations with the Army Corps. Thank you.
So as a follow-up, we'll find out what the daily operations are and then what the increase is so that we can let our community know.
Yes.
The next question from our community is, how much were you paid to have the trash be dumped in our neighborhood?
What for you? Yes.
For anyone who's making money off of this, yes. Feel free to answer.
So we have a federal contract with ECC, that is our prime contractor. And so part of that contract is that they oversee a network of subcontractors that do this work. And we pay them it depends on the item. There's a series of item costs that we pay them per the cubic yard or per ton to move the material.
Are the contracts public?
The contracts are not public.
Why?
So I just want to lift up the fact that we're going to be following up to understand this better. But the reason this question comes about is actually tied to another question we had, which is just about kind of how our community is being utilized for this, and we recognize it's a full-fledged effort for the recovery. But the same community is told time and time again that there's no funds to do the repairs that we need. There's no resources for us to plant the extra trees and have the extra parks. And so the fact that there is money being made from this, and we're asking questions about health and safety of our community while simultaneously there's no resources to support the community is an imbalance.
Okay, we're gonna take some in-person.
We do ask that you keep it short so we can get through as many questions as possible.
Respectfully, we're gonna limit the questions to a minute. If you can get your question in a minute.
Come on forward. Please say your name and where you live.
Yeah, so my name is Amy Navarro and I live here in Sun Valley. So I just wanted to say that we keep talking about that it's safe concrete, but the effects for the people living in this area are long-term effects such as silicosis, chronic pulmonary disease, lung cancer, and other health problems that we have. And my question actually is for the three of you is why are we acting like this is a done deal? Why are we not working to stop this from happening now? How do we wait for us to find out how many more tons? We already feel the effects of the dust that is in our area. I have my child who goes to school right here at Roscoe Elementary. He has allergy problems because of all of this. So my question is really to you, why are you not stopping this?
Well, I think I can start because everything related to this fire, one of the biggest obstacles that we have run into is access to information. And because that has been the first barrier is why we wanted to have this town hall in hopes to address the issue of access to information. So a lot of the things that you're hearing today is the first time that we're hearing it. So I don't think it's we're necessarily operating from the perspective of this is a done deal. In fact, when we first found out, we actually did a motion at the City of Los Angeles to halt it. So we have halted it for a few days in order for this to happen. Now, I gotta be very honest with you. When it comes to things and certain situations considered emergency, we do have a little bit more obstacles to stop things. So we're trying to figure out what it is we can and can't do. We are in that process as we speak.
I'd like to add to that. You've heard from Vulcan, ma'am, I apologize, I don't know your name. You've heard from Vulcan is that they didn't ask for additional permits. These are permits that have been given to them. It's within their limits. So it's not something that we approved for a new permit. This is within their regular business capacity of a permit that was approved, I don't know when, long time ago.
Yeah, that's correct.
More than 50 years ago? So it's an ongoing permit. Now, just because it's been an ongoing permit doesn't make it right. Someone mentioned silicosis. I have a bill on silicosis. The previous assembly member had a bill on silicosis. I have a bill right now, SB 526, on aggregate facilities, looking to cap the amount of height, looking to ensure that these businesses have a higher fence, looking to ensure that the dust doesn't go into Sun Valley Recreation Park or into the homes around all those facilities like that. We're looking to give South Coast AQMD, have them renew or reevaluate the regulations that are 18 years old, because they only can enforce current regulations, and respectfully, current regulations are not strong enough. Now, so to your point, you've heard the Colonel say everywhere else these locations are, all locations that are taking it. What we're doing is how to mitigate and help mitigate, talking to Vulcan, saying, hey, can we increase the measures to offset what is happening? But we do have bills related to this. Ma'am, I'm so sorry, it's not a back and forth. We have to move on to the next person. And Granada Hills, I want to say Granada Hills fought for this, but it's still going to Sunshine for Granados.
But the biggest difference too is Calabasas is not within LA County, and they have that argument to make. This is an LA County incident. It is asked of LA County to play its role.
With respect to the Palisades landfill, if it was closer, why not bring the debris there? Mind you, you already kind of answered that, but still, why not bring it there if it's closer, right? Okay. If the material truly is non-hazardous and clean, as you all keep repeating over and over again, then what is the problem? Why couldn't it go to Calabasas if it's closer? Second.
I want to correct. Calabasas is in LA County, very north.
Okay. Let me continue, please. Okay. Does concrete have silica? Right? Okay. How much does silica usually is involved in concrete? About 25 to 78% according to a quick Google search, right? So couldn't silica lead to silicosis? Let me ask, couldn't silica lead to silicosis? What happens when someone has silicosis? Have you ever felt like your lungs were getting dried up? Do you like to breathe? I know that you do. Second, if we are getting about 3 tons of whatever this is, right, concrete, clean concrete a day, with the desert that already exists, isn't it possible that we can inhale it?
Last question, that was it. Could we get some time to summarize?
That time was 3 minutes in the past. Let me have my 3 minutes. Lastly,
I can't. Ma'am. So I'd like to turn to the panelists now, if they can answer these questions so that everyone else. You're not being respectful for everyone else who has questions. So I'd like to, panelists, if you can answer, I will summarize some questions. Silica to silicosis. Does the concrete have silica? Does that put the individuals at risk of silicosis?
Both residents and workers.
And then if there's a landfill near Palisades, why wouldn't you direct it to the landfill in Palisades if that's a shorter route?
We're using all of the available and permitted landfills and recycling centers that we can so we can safely and efficiently and quickly remove the fire ash and debris and the recyclable materials from 13,500 uncontrolled parcels to 20-some controlled locations where it can either be re-enter the supply chain, such as here, or where it can be permanently and safely stored, such as in a landfill.
Is there a landfill in Palisades, and are there?
There's not a landfill in Palisades.
You can. What about silica, sir? Can someone answer the silica question? Is there silica and concrete? Someone
I'm going to ask
the
the next speaker to please come up.
Wait, the silica question wasn't answered. Can anyone answer the silica?
This Dave Thompson with the LEA program. I am not aware of a landfill in Palisades or anywhere in that south area. The landfills that are, the landfills that are allowed to take the debris, fire debris, are Sunshine Canyon, Calabasas, Simi Valley, El Sobrante. These have all been lined landfills, so if anything's going to be protected from the liner, this has all been approved under a waste discharge requirement that was issued by the state's Water Resources Board. So they have a listing of all the different landfills throughout the state that they use for all fire debris incidents. So for this cleanup, they are using the local landfills that have been approved to take this material. With Vulcan, it's not a landfill to take solid waste. It is an inert debris engineered fill that has been accepting it, I believe, since 1977, somewhere right around there.
Thank you.
They
I
are
wanna
only
also emphasize-
able to take inert debris, the clean concrete, and that's what they're continuing to do.
So the silicosis crisis is very real to the Northeast San Fernando Valley. So I don't want you to feel like we don't care to get that answer. However, I don't think we have any panelists that could actually appropriately respond to that. We will follow up with the Department of Public Health to know more of the specifics, because it's very different. It's different materials cause it differently, so we will get back to you. Trust me, you are talking to the choir when it comes to the work, and everyone that has been tracking that crisis in our region as well. Let's go on to the next question, please.
Hello, Maria Zeeler from Sun Valley. It's been established that you two, Security, Paving, and Vulcan, these are directed towards you, are private companies. Pacific Palisades are paying you money, or you're getting money to receive these clean concretes. You're then going to turn around and recycle it, therefore making more money. We invest this money into my community, into our community, our schools, our parks, our children, our community programs, and our social programs. Can I get a commitment from you two that you will reinvest money into our community?
We will absolutely be continuing our investment in Sun Valley. We're part of this community. We're committed to this community. That will not change. That is before, during, and after the Palisades fire. We're committed to being.
Next question.
Yes, I do have a question, but first I'd like to make a statement, and that is all of you should be grateful that your leaders are here today, and that they are doing a great job to listen to you. Sometimes their hands are tied, but they are doing what they can, and you should appreciate that. As a community who didn't have any notice about what was happening to us, we are getting over 200 truck trips a day of dirt being dumped in our residential area. So be grateful that you have them. Also, I would like to add that your area is a cleanup, green-up area. There are only 2 in the city of Los Angeles of contaminated communities. Yours is one of them. Make sure that you guys stand together and fight. Also, all these trucks coming, they're not just going to one place or 2 places. You guys have dumps everywhere.
And you need to make sure that the cumulative impacts of the emissions from the trucks, you smell it, you call them. Don't let this get out of hand. You get that number of complaints and you keep it on your refrigerator so you have it handy to make those calls. And the one question I have as a masonry contractor, I want to know, because I know that rebar has lead in it, are you removing the rebar from all the pieces of concrete that you're going to be removing and sending here to Sun Valley?
Yes.
Yes.
Next question.
Jason Enright, North Hollywood. Like someone mentioned earlier, you're both being paid to take this and you're going to then later sell it. It was mentioned several times by the Colonel that this is a commodity, right? So my question is to everyone here, but also to our representatives, how are we going to get money out of that? Can we tax what they're going to sell this for so that we can create a 10 to 20 year study on the health effects of this? Can we tax it so that we can fix our roads, so that we can build parks? Like, why are we letting them make money off of this while they're poisoning us? Thank you.
I'm going to answer your question as well as talk a little bit about what the previous speaker said. Yes, we are a cleanup, green up zone. That is part of a lot of the work that I did in my early age out of college. When I was working at Pacoima Beautiful, who's also in the house, it was Pacoima Beautiful, another group named Unión de Vecinos in Boyle Heights, and another group called Coalition for Clean Communities out in Wilmington. It is one of the better things that we have related to our land use here, and it is a tool that we can use to slowly but surely clean up the industrial sites. And slowly but surely it is happening, but the thing is that a lot of these permits are historical and have not been renewed because when you usually apply for these sort of permits, you apply for one to last good to 50 years. But I do encourage everybody to stay up to date with when industrial sites are going to be renewing. In fact, when we were promoting this, and I talked to the folks here at Poly, we actually had some reminiscing about how once upon a time it was on this campus where the community came together to have a discussion about what the permit that Waste Management applied for was going to look like. They wanted one thing and the community turned it into a whole different thing. But this is not a conversation about the future of permits. This is a conversation about what's going on here. And this leads me to the second gentleman. The agency that we don't have here is the EPA. And maybe Army Corps of Engineers can confirm to me what I understood. My understanding is that we should indeed, as a community, track what roads are being used so that later on we can go back to the EPA and ask for a reimbursement to fix some of the things as a mitigation for being a community willing to be a partner in this emergency. Is that correct? Because you're tracking everything.
Yeah, you asked about the EPA.
Yes, my understanding is that EPA, if we can confirm that these were the roads and these are the things that we are doing in an emergency, we can request mitigation of dollars.
I don't have an answer for that. I don't know.
We have to ask the EPA.
Okay.
So long story short is we are tracking it and we're trying to figure out how we can get these things reimbursed by the federal government.
We've got a time check right now. We have 6 minutes left. We want to be mindful of the panelists. We can stay here, but we might not have the answers for you. So we've got to go quickly. Go ahead.
Mi nombre es Juana Gómez. Yo soy de aquí del área de North Hollywood. Mi pregunta es para ustedes. ¿Cómo la ciudad de Los Ángeles nos va a notificar que el material que van a estar trayendo a nuestra comunidad no va a hacer daño en la salud pública a toda nuestra comunidad? Porque para eso estamos nosotros aquí presentes, porque así nos dijeron en el 2017, 18 y 19 que no iba a afectar, y afectó a nuestra comunidad en enfermedades en salud pública, en cáncer, en diabetes, en asma, en muchas enfermedades. Y para eso estamos nosotros aquí presentes, para apoyarnos y para que nuestra comunidad nos escuche, porque nosotros tenemos voz y voto.
So the question is.
What are the translators?
Oh, do we have a translator?
Yeah, we have a translator.
The general question is, how will the city of LA notify us about what will be the harms caused by all this to us in terms of health, the health effects and the consequences of such for us in this community?
Is there a notification that goes out to the community members surrounding the landfills, your location, one of the extra load and potential impacts? Does anything go out?
I don't think so.
Does a letter go out, an email, messenger bird?
There should be.
Is that a question for Vulcan or?
Anyone, anybody. I think, well, you know what happened, which is why, you know, we didn't know about this until later, and I think moving forward, we're gonna get a head's notice, at least for us in our offices, and we have the ability to then contact you and put it out there and share that information. Okay.
And
Next question.
We're gonna cap it at the amiga right here with the SCIU 99. You'll be the last one. I know where you live, so we have to make sure you speak.
No,
So
you'll
we're
be the
gonna
last
cap
one.
it. You'll be our last speaker.
Maria,
Okay?
no te preocupes.
I know where she lives. She's gotta ask her question.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Hi, my name is Celine, but I speak Spanish. Voy a hablar en español. Estoy viendo y estoy observando muchas cosas aquí. La primera es que ya lo dan por hecho. No tuvimos esa información antes, pero ustedes ya lo dan por hecho. La segunda es...
So yes, I see a lot of things here. The first thing that I notice is that you guys are taking this as if it were a done deal.
La segunda es, el ingeniero del Army Corps, él está respondiendo todas las preguntas, pero no está siendo específico en las preguntas que estamos haciendo. Solamente da respuestas al aire, como decir esto es lo que es, pero no es específico. Ahora, la cosa...
And then the next part is for the gentleman who's representing the engineer of the Army Corps. He's not answering the questions directly and specifically. He's just giving sort of a general summary or a general response without giving many specific details.
Ahora, están hablando de un dinero, pero no hay un contrato y después ya sabemos que esto pasa. Cuando se trata de dinero, después dice no, llama a la organización, llama a la ciudad, no, esto no es con nosotros, esto es con Saucaus. Cada quien dice una cosa, pero a la hora de ver un papel no existe porque ni ustedes lo tienen. Entonces, ¿cómo vamos a saber cómo se va a manejar ese dinero si ni ustedes tienen el plan?
The next thing is you guys are talking so much about money, but there's no contract. You're giving, you're saying a whole bunch of things, this and that, but how are we going to know when we don't actually have a specific piece of paper here that tells us what exactly is going on?
Y la tercera, para no extenderme. Sí,
La última, por favor.
Sí. Dan la información y uno va a hacer el trabajo de ustedes, porque si vemos camiones entonces les tenemos que llamar. Yo no puedo estar 24 horas cerca de la compañía que va a tener la demolición. Entonces durante ese tiempo van a pasar muchas cosas. El agua calma el polvo, pero eso no quiere decir que va a mitigar toda la tierra.
¿Nos puede hacer una pregunta, por favor?
Sí, la pregunta es, ¿van a tirar el agua y quién va a estar monitoreando después de que usted deje ese papel de supervisor ahora? ¿Quién es que se va a encargar de verificar que realmente el proceso sea como lo está diciendo? ¿Hay una organización fuera de la compañía que está demoliendo?
South Coast.
When you guys do the process of throwing the water onto the debris, how are you going to know that that process is actually happening? How are you going to assure that that is being monitored adequately?
Yeah, so for every crew that's out working, every one of our contracted crews that's out working, I have an Army Corps of Engineer employee that oversees what they do. We call it a quality assurance. That's in addition to the quality control that the contractor provides first. We provide quality assurance. So one of my teammates is out there, then I have a series of leaders that circulate both communities to ensure that the highest qualities and what I'm saying to you is actually what's happening on the ground.
Okay, we're gonna, one question per person. Sorry, one question.
Hi, my name's Charlene Allen. I live in Sun Valley. I've been here for almost 23 years. And my question, Rosemary, you mentioned transparency. We all feel like no one has been transparent because, number one, this is going to be a two-parter, and I apologize. You said 3,000 tons a day have been coming in since Monday, correct? So, and you said that you're not taking any more than 6,000. So we're taking in half of the allotted amount per day, correct? With that said, why are we, the people, including our council people, have been made aware of this after the fact? Why did this not happen prior so we can all have peace of mind and understand what's coming our way so we can prepare ourselves? Why are we finding this out after the fact? Thank
you. So the 3,000 of the clean concrete is not a threshold that we have reached yet, not even close. It's a fraction of that number. That is 6,000 tons per day. That is what our permit caps us at. We're oftentimes well below that number. And again, from a Vulcan perspective too, is that we view this also as being part of our responsibility. As part of recovering and rebuilding, this site has a specialized capability to where we can process this material and store it in a safe and environmentally friendly way. Our operations span 23 states and 4 countries. So when there's a natural disaster, fire, tornado, hurricane, or otherwise, we are always part of that first responder group to help try to restore normalcy. Right now, we're in the midst of a project on the other side of the country, rebuilding after Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina. Environmental standards there, just like here, don't take a backseat. What we do must be in compliance. We are a publicly traded company. Everything that we do is public and reportable. So for us, whether it is this fire, safely processing this, or it's helping us recover following a hurricane, whether it's in Florida, North Carolina, we are actively involved in these projects. The material that we produce, whether it's aggregate, concrete, or asphalt, is necessary as the building blocks of our society, of everyday life. And so for us, taking in material, we want to do our best to put it right back out there to make sure that it's done safely to help restore normalcy where it's needed the most. That responsibility is true for Vulcan. Here, it's true for us coast to coast. That is who we are as a company, and it's up to us to do it in a safe and environmentally responsible way. Sun Valley doesn't take a backseat to any of that. Never has, and it never will for Vulcan.
It feels like it does because we were not made aware until after the fact, so there's no transparency here. Why and who made this decision behind all of our backs?
That's what I want to know. Who made the decision?
I do want to say, at least for like the landfill and all this was all county related. County voted for this. You have city here and state here. We invited county to be here.
What are they?
And they did not want to be a part of this.
They did not want to be here. However, and you know what, it's worth mentioning too, that this is another one of those issues where most of the Sun Valley region that I represent is Supervisorial District 3. But the landfills are in Supervisorial District 5, which makes it extra complicated. But it is something that I want to put on all of your radars, because really the phone call is to both of them. Because both of them did not contact us, and that is why we got together so that we can at minimum begin this conversation.
To the two businesses here, and I'm trying to find a way to ask without making it seem like, oh, you need to do this, but we feel for a certain way that, wow, we weren't told ahead of time. I guess not a regret, but a promise that for any kind of things, whether it's within your permit, the community is going to see the headlines on the media and what happened in Riverside, i.e., people were upset there, that when any changes happen in our community, that moving forward, you're going to give us a heads up. And that what happened here was an anomaly of not letting us know ahead of time.
I think at Vulcan, we're only as good as our partnerships, and it starts with people. So when it comes to staying connected, that is absolutely a commitment from Vulcan. with the three of you within the community at large. And there's a fact sheet from our company that's going around right now. It has an email, has a phone number on it. Those are things that we monitor and check all the time. You go onto our Vulcan Materials website, you want to call our media line, that goes to my cell phone. Don't call it right now because I'm kind of in the middle of something else. But what I will say is that we may be a large company, but we are also a small company in the sense that we care about every community that we operate in. That is a promise, that's a commitment for us. We are never going to be too big to care about each and every one of you. It's why we're here tonight. It's why we want to come prepared tonight to make sure that you get straight answers and you understand our role in this process, and we're absolutely committed to working with you and staying with you.
Nod yes? Yeah. Sorry, you too, right? Yes. Nod yes. 30 seconds.
We have 4 speakers left.
30 seconds, sir.
Same for security paving.
Okay.
We felt that we were operating in our permit limits and the agencies that are here that monitor our business. But anything like this in the future, we will call you direct, and please call me if there's any issue.
Thank you, sir. Speaker.
Jesus Juarez Mazo, resident of North Hollywood. This, from what I've heard, it will affect Pacoima, Sun Valley, Granada Hills, Sylmar, San Fernando, Calabasas, Hidden Hills, West Hills, Lost Hills, Agoura Hills, Santa Clarita, San Bernardino, Palmdale. I've been to Palisades. I know that's toxic. I don't recommend anybody live there, but or Altadena. Even if you remove however much soil, I would recommend 20 yards deep. Nonetheless, we all know where this will affect here in Sun Valley, but I just want to know, where do you all live? Where do you live? Each and every one of you.
I live in San Diego.
I live in Fontana. We can go on to the next question.
Well, it's a question that I'm going to try to be concise and to one answer. You hear all the complaints of everybody. I admire the responsibility that you took to say we are responsible. I admire the course you have to give us all these answers. Everybody throws the ball to each other. We know that it's only one answer. And the answer is this: what are you gonna do to compensate? And the community is gonna ask for help when they get into help sick. Do you have a program to compensate and restitute the sick people, the children that are gonna be sick? Are you working? You plan it. So do you have a program to create a program for good health, for compensate the community? Thank you.
Can anyone address that? Related? I think that's more of a county question also. And I will pledge to speak to our county leaders about what is being worked on to create some kind of a health fund. Yes. Next question.
I'm Carmel from 91352. With respect to the person earlier who mentioned that we should be appreciative that our elected representatives, whether we vote for them or not, whether we agree with them or not, took time out of their busy schedules to come to be asking these questions. I did want to acknowledge every single one of you who came out of your busy schedules to come and demand time to interview and get the questions, the answers to the questions that you deserve. So I just want to say to everybody who came here on a cold day, when you could have been home TV, watching music, playing games, I know I wanted to, but I wanted to come out here because I can't come out to all of these, but I came out to the ones that I can. I just want to say to each and every one of you, thank you very much.
Next time, please ask the question.
Okay, I was one of the, in fact, they put one station on one house away from me, my house. I have a daughter who has epileptic seizure. She continues having seizures because she gets asthma. She gets, what's it called? Allergies. I have allergies too. It took us more than 2 years or 3 to get them out from there. They did not have no permit. They did not. They were demolishing concrete houses that they were like tear apart the thing that it has inside of the houses. I had the pictures. I sent the picture to air quality. I talked 24/7. They were having big trucks, trailers, nothing on the top covered, all dust everywhere. I had to get everybody involved that I know. I even went to Neighborhood Watch, Neighborhood Council. I had to make my things that didn't have any permit. I called the investigators, the ones that they gave them permit, they did not have any things. The owner came to me and told me that why I called 24/7. See all this dust? We cannot eat outside. We couldn't eat. My daughter couldn't even go outside and play.
I'm sorry, can we get to a question, please?
Yeah. Also, can you remind everybody where your cross streets are?
It's Chilton, Sutter Street, San Fernando, on San Fernando Road, the old.
Thank you. Any question? Do you want to ask?
My question is, why are they opening facilities that they don't have permit and that to have them? Also, they grab water from the city that we all pay, and they don't pay.
South Coast AQMD will have a follow-up conversation and just do an community asset mapping of where these facilities are, follow-ups, complaints of these facilities, and follow through on those complaints.
Thank you. Norma, since you were the president of the Sun Valley Neighborhood Council, I saw someone line up behind you. Maybe we have them go and then you can conclude it.
Yes.
And these are our last speakers.
One quick question. By the way, my name is Eve. I'm in Sun Valley. I live there. I live very, very close to the Tahunga Spreading Grounds. I don't know if you're aware of the Tahunga Spreading Grounds. They spent millions and millions to make it. As this gentleman here said, water cannot be contained. This is very, very close to where this dump site is. What, if anything, is being done to monitor underground water from this dump site going to that particular spreading ground that supplies Sun Valley and other communities? It's very important to me.
Anybody answer?
Okay.
I'm gonna find out. No one's answering. I commit to finding out what tracking happens with the air, with the water quality, and if there's not, we need to put something in place. I come from San Fernando where we had poisonous water and had to shut down our own wells and import water, and that can't be happening for communities. We deserve better. So that's my commitment to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. My name is Norma Chavez. I am the president of the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council. And I just want to start by thanking my community and my neighboring communities for coming, because we're always told that it's Sun Valley, so we don't get the right attention, we don't get the right information. So I'm just very happy to see so many of my community members present here. And I also want to say to the whole panel is that our doors are open for information sharing. Prior to this all coming out and putting together this town hall, I did speak with somebody from Vulcan, and we had a meeting, the Planning and Land Use Committee meeting, where he was present, and I guess he didn't know at the time that they were gonna start taking debris because that was not disclosed. And then later on, about 2 weeks later, he lets me know that they will be getting debris, but then he said it was from Palisades, and then I see at another neighborhood council that they're bringing debris from Altadena. And so what I would like to ask is that whenever you have something to share with our community, to please make a statement that can be shared, not just like a phone call and make it very informal, but something that is written so we can share it. We have social media, we have Facebook, we have our newsletter, and we can spread the word. And as you can see, it went far away because we have a lot of community members from way far that are not just around here, like San Tahanga, Shadow Hills, and North Hollywood. So please communicate with us. This is the San Valley Area Neighborhood Council. We do have a website. Find our email, and please share the information with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I'd like to, it's hard to summarize everything. We went through environmental justice questions, a lot of concerns there. We've gone through the feeling of not knowing information before. We have follow-up questions that we'll send to you. Colonel is going to send us a list of the facilities that are accepting this. We'll send some questions to Cal EPA. We'll get follow-up answers from LA County. You have the commitment from here, from all of us, to keep you engaged and aware of everything that moves forward. Vulcan and I we're all now best friends, so we're going to be calling each other all the time to make sure we know what is happening in our district. I want to thank you, every single one of you. Just know that we have bills on these that we're looking to address, and we need your support to make these bills go through. I need you to call the assembly member to vote aye on these bills, so we can get them through to help Sun Valley. We are new elected officials, and a lot of the decisions that came through happened way before us, but we're looking now to change